Throughout history, mysterious legends about ships on the ocean have always captivated the public whenever they emerge. From the disappearance of the entire crew on the Mary Celeste to the eerie appearance of the Flying Dutchman, there are thousands of stories that have made their way into film and literature, recounting inexplicable events that happened on these ships. Among them, the Ourang Medan stands out with its particularly strange event that still leaves listeners intrigued after decades. It all began in the Strait of Malacca, situated between Malaysia and the Indonesian island of Sumatra. This strait is considered one of the most crucial sea routes in the world, as it serves as a gateway for trade among major Asian economies like Japan, China, and India. It is estimated that up to 1/4 of the world's cargo traffic passes through the strait daily, making it a prime target for piracy. Despite the large number of ships passing through this area each day, the Phillips Channel, located south of Singapore in the strait, is only about 3 kilometers wide and less than 25 meters deep. This makes it challenging for large ships like cargo vessels to navigate through. Statistics show that more than 30 ships have sunk in the Strait of Malacca since it became a shipping route, and among them was the Ourang Medan, with a story that still leaves people stunned by the bizarre events that occurred. Around February 1948, many ships passing through the Strait of Malacca received similar distress signals. Although the origin of the sender was not identified, the messages they received were quite clear. Using Morse code, the sender described the dire situation occurring on his ship. After this introduction, there was a long segment of Morse code that could not be deciphered. The distress signal ended with a brief message that made the entire code puzzling. After this final message, everything fell silent. Since the origin of this signal remains unknown, ships passing through the Strait of Malacca at that time were frequently warned to be vigilant and report anything unusual to authorities. Despite these efforts, no trace of the ill-fated ship was found. It wasn't until the Dutch and British governments used triangulation methods to locate the source of the signal that they could pinpoint its position. The Ourang Medan was confirmed to be at an unnamed location in the Indian Ocean, far from the usual shipping routes of the Strait of Malacca. At that time, the Silver Star, an American cargo ship, was closest to the identified location and immediately headed to the coordinates of the Ourang Medan. Within a few hours, the crew of the Silver Star began to see the silhouette of an unidentified ship in the distance. As they approached, they noticed that the ship showed no external damage. Attempts to contact the ship via radio were unsuccessful, with only silence on the other end. Upon deciding to board the ship to investigate, the Silver Star's crew encountered a horrifying scene. The bodies of the crew members on the Ourang Medan were strewn across the deck with their eyes wide open and arms outstretched, as if they had been trying to fight off something. In other areas, the rescue team confirmed the captain's body was in the command cabin. They also found the sailor who had sent the strange message before, his body still clutching the radio transmitter. Another strange observation by the rescuers was the bone-chilling cold on the ship. According to reports, the daytime temperature at the time the ship was discovered was over 37 degrees Celsius. Yet in some areas of the Ourang Medan, temperatures were measured as low as 10 degrees Celsius. With no survivors left on board, the Silver Star crew decided to tow the mysterious ship to the nearest port for further investigation. However, once the cable was successfully connected between the two ships, black smoke suddenly billowed from the cargo hold of the Ourang Medan. Immediately, the crew of the Silver Star attempted to cut the cable, and just seconds after this was done, a loud explosion erupted from the Ourang Medan, causing it to catch fire and slowly sink into the sea. From then on, the story of this ship became a legend passed among sailors and only gained wider recognition when it appeared in the annual report of the U.S. Coast Guard. On May 9, 1952, a report titled "How the Merchant Marine Board Operates," published by the U.S. Coast Guard, mentioned this event. Since the publication of the article, countless questions have been raised about the fate of this mysterious ship. So what truly happened to the Ourang Medan that led to the crew's gruesome deaths? The first hypothesis suggests that they were poisoned by a toxic chemical stored in the ship's cargo holds. According to historian Roy Bainton, who spent decades researching this tragic event, he eventually tracked down a German publication from 1954 titled "The Dead Ship in the Southern Sea" that seemed to detail the incident, leading Bainton to believe that the author might have been directly connected to the ship's story. According to the publication, the Ourang Medan might have carried a hazardous chemical compound such as potassium cyanide, nitroglycerin, or worse, an undisclosed nerve agent. But why would a regular Dutch cargo ship contain such deadly compounds? This leads us to a bigger mystery involving a special Japanese military unit during World War II. Unit 731, established by microbiologist Shurishi, aimed to create the most dangerous chemical and biological weapons known to humanity to ensure victory for the Japanese army against any enemy. Despite the severe human rights violations of Unit 731's experiments on prisoners, General Douglas MacArthur, the top Allied commander, granted immunity to the research unit's members, including their leader, on the condition that they would provide all information on biological weapons developed by the unit. The Ourang Medan could have been the transport vessel used to carry these hazardous items from Unit 731's research station to a U.S. military base. This would explain why the ship appeared in an area far from the usual shipping routes of the Strait of Malacca. Bainton wrote in his research that the rough seas during transport might have damaged the cargo containers on the Ourang Medan, causing toxic gases to leak throughout the ship. These toxic gases might have been the cause of the crew's mysterious deaths when they inhaled them. Due to the prolonged drifting at sea, seawater could have flooded the ship's cargo hold. The salt in the seawater, when coming into contact with the toxic compounds, might have caused an explosion that made the Ourang Medan sink. During the investigation, Bainton found no information about the Ourang Medan in the shipping records of the Dutch East Indies Company. Additionally, he found no trace of the Silver Star in U.S. records. Further digging revealed that the Silver Star only bore that name for a short period in 1946 when the U.S. Maritime Commission classified it in records. If the Ourang Medan story indeed took place in 1948, why was the rescue ship recorded under a name that was only used on paper in 1946 and changed within that same year? These discrepancies in timelines lead to the second hypothesis that the story of the Ourang Medan was a fabricated tale created by sailors to entertain themselves during long sea voyages. From February to March 1948, the name Ourang Medan frequently appeared in articles by the Lokomotif newspaper in Indonesia. These publications were dated February 3rd, February 28th, and March 13th. They recounted a similar story about distress signals, mysterious deaths, and the explosion that sank the ship. Then, some American newspapers in 1948 also reported the story with similar details. First, there was a brief article in the San Francisco Examiner on October 3, 1948. A week later, another article about the Ourang Medan appeared in the Atlanta Constitution on October 10, 1948, titled "Mysteries at Sea." Although the Lokomotif's articles reported the incident occurred in June 1947, the American articles claimed it happened in February 1948. With such close timelines and incomplete information, errors could occur. However, some evidence suggests that the Ourang Medan incident might have actually been reported earlier than the articles suggest. In 1940, some British newspapers mentioned the name. On November 21, 1940, the Yorkshire Evening Post published an article titled "The Mysterious Distress Call from the Dead Ship." On November 29, 1940, the Hampshire Telegraph also published a similar article titled "The Story of a Strange Tragedy at Sea." These 1940 articles described events on the Ourang Medan differently from those reported in 1947 and 1948. First, The crew's bodies were described as normal, without the strange manifestations later reported. Next, the temperature on the ship was not mentioned, suggesting no unusual cold. The most significant difference was the distress call. The 1940 articles recorded the distress call as follows. The final message in these articles was also different. So what is the truth? The 1940 version or the 1947 and 1948 versions? Many researchers believe that discrepancies in accounts and timelines suggest some factor might have prevented public knowledge of the ship's story. This leads us to another piece of evidence regarding U.S. government involvement in the Ourang Medan case. In 1959, a letter was sent to an unnamed person, possibly the CIA director at the time, Allen Dulles, who was also linked to the establishment of Area 51, as discussed in Part 6 of the Explain Nation series on extraterrestrial life. The letter was marked top secret by the CIA and was only declassified in 2003 after its security period expired. In the letter, author C.H. Mark Jr. referred to the Ourang Medan story occurring in February 1948. He described the events in detail and concluded, "Remember that the word secret is always placed in quotation marks in the letter." A reply was sent to Mark a while later from Allen Dulles' special assistant, containing only a few sentences. If the Ourang Medan was indeed just a fabricated tale created by sailors on ships passing through the Malacca Strait, why did the CIA classify the letter describing this event as top secret? And what is the real meaning of secret in quotation marks in Mark's letter? Why did he believe that the explanation for the Ourang Medan incident was also the answer to that secret? The mystery surrounding what happened on the Ourang Medan still raises many questions after over half a century. Attempts to uncover the truth have led to nothing but unclear timelines and dead ends due to a lack of information. Did the Ourang Medan really exist? The precise answer may remain forever hidden beneath the ocean's depths, just like the ship itself.